What's going on, buddy?
There you are.
Yeah, I'm here. So what do
I'm
you
a
know
little
this?
late, but
That's all right. That's all right. I was just running my title screen until somebody showed up. I sent out about, I don't know, 7 invites. Got people who said they wanted to come, but like it was short notice, so I don't know how many people are going to make it today. We'll see.
I completely understand. I get that all the time.
So yeah, I was just going to let the title screen run. If everybody couldn't make it, I was just going to be like, oh, well, bloop.
Is that little like that chime or whatever it is with the
Yeah, it goes like this.
It's actually pretty cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I found it's like an AI video generator. It's not exactly AI. It's more like Canva generating audio or generating a video for you. But it was like take your logo, upload it, and then they have like different styles of like what title screens, just sort of video animations that you can use with your logo, and that was the one that worked best. It had my colors and all that stuff. So yeah, I did that. I don't know, that was a while ago, but I liked it, so I held on to it. It does good to like start the show. I don't have to, I don't have to like just have a complete dry open, and kind of gives me a minute. I can turn it on. People know it's coming, and then I can kind of gather my thoughts and get started. So yeah. So what do you know this week?
Oh, this week, what do I know? Other than kind of standing by, awaiting Sunday night.
Right.
That's kind of the big. That's the big thing right now.
Whole world's on pause. Really, it's like
except for if you're outside of the KC Metro, I guess. But
yeah, I'm sure they're all doing their normal stuff. I got I don't even have like, I'm almost intentionally slow on business this week. I was like, I don't know, only important stuff. I'm gonna focus on the important stuff this week, and
I finally like somebody's finally rebuttaling against this ref Senate, all this ref crap.
Oh God.
They're finally saying, you know what, like let's be serious. Like this is not a colluded anything. There's no possible way this could even happen. And that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, okay, so who's gonna go tell Jared Allen? Who's gonna go tell
okay. I'm which one? Chris Jones?
Josh Allen. Who's going to tell him he doesn't get to win this year? Who's going to tell him, oh, by the way, we're gonna do all this stuff and you're not going to win? Like that's not. This is
stupid. But the ref did come over to the sidelines and pat Josh on the shoulder when Josh didn't get the call he thought he should get. So I mean,
I saw that and I thought, my God, can you imagine if that would have been Mahomes?
The right now, but at the end of the day, the idea is, if you're going to be fixing games, to what end? Que bueno. Who benefits?
Well,
and and none, and then you also have to like, okay, so 32 billionaires just agree to let one team be the champion all the time.
Yeah.
However, with those things being said, I do think there is a rationale behind a level of quote unquote rigging. I don't even necessarily consider it rigging, but quote unquote rigging, right? So hear me out. Okay, you're familiar with professional wrestling, right?
Yeah.
And we all are in agreement. Completely fake as far as, it's not an athletic competition to determine the winner, right? It's a staged performance.
Yep.
Right. That's to say nothing about the athleticism of the people doing the work. And I'm quite certain that a lot of it is painful.
Oh yeah.
But that being said, do you know how they stage and how they orchestrate the action in a professional wrestling match? Do you know who's in control of the choreography and the momentum in the match? Do you know?
Well, I don't. I heard one. This just triggered this right when you said that. I never wouldn't have thought it otherwise, but I heard something on one of those things sometimes where the ref said, "Okay, boys, time to wrap it up," and that
Yep.
was what. And that
Yep.
was when they wrapped it up.
Time to wrap it up. It's time
Yeah,
to switch.
yeah,
This guy's been doing the winning, so it's this guy's turn for a little
yeah,
while. Switch it up a bit. Blah 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 blah.
yeah.
Yes, the referee in a wrestling ring directs the action. Now, what would be the goal of any rigging in an NFL game? Assuming nobody cares who wins, because obviously, other team owners aren't going to be okay with somebody rigging the game for their team to lose, right? Nobody's going to be okay with that. So, what would be the goal? And I submit to you, the goal would be eyeballs. Keep the games close so people watch the games, especially on television, until the very end. I bet if you looked up statistically, I obviously haven't done this work, but I bet if you looked it up statistically, you would find out that the number of games that come to that are decided by one score or less it is, I don't know if it can be by less than one score, but you get my meaning. If they're a one score game, I bet the number of those games has gone up significantly in the last 20 years. You don't see blowouts hardly.
Yeah, there's not very much blowouts. Yeah, kind of think of it.
And there's always a really inconvenient call at
Yeah,
a really inconvenient time. And it's not just for the Chiefs. It happens in Bengals games. It happens in Bills games. It happens in Ravens games, right? It happens in all these games. Keep them close. Keep it within the point spread, because who else is now, super involved in sports today? The gambling industry.
Yeah, Vegas is yeah. Well, we call
Keep
it
it close to the spread and keep the eyeballs on the TV. I don't care who wins. I can see that being about the only plausible way that you could think of the game being rigged. That's the only way it makes sense to me.
I suppose, but then I look at it from the NFL's perspective. There's no realm that they're going to put now the two of the most hated teams in the Super Bowl to potentially tank their viewership. I mean,
check this out.
It's not smart.
Check this out. So when I first looked at this, go ahead.
I was going to say, but to that point, gambling may not care who's in the Super Bowl. They're still going to gamble.
Right. They don't care who's in the Super Bowl. The gambling's still going to happen, but what they want is to make sure that you keep it close to the spread.
Yeah.
And they want the spreads to be close. Now, let me see here. Where's my... Why is this screen... Oh, I know why. Hold on. Wrong browser. That's why it didn't come up. Let me get a different browser here real quick.
I will say, as much as, the Chiefs are the villain, I still don't think they're as big a villain as the Eagles.
I honestly do not understand how the Chiefs are such villains. The idea is stupid. I mean, it's not like they're cheating like the Patriots did.
Yeah, what if they go out next year? I mean, it's almost going to be the reverse next year. It's almost like they're not going to be allowed to win next year.
Oh,
because it will just tank everything, all the viewership.
Wouldn't surprise me at all.
Now and then you could go back and look at it and go, okay, yeah, now we are rigged because they are, that team, and now you're holding them down.
So you see that top price there, $37.15 for Super Bowl tickets. It's kind of small. I don't know if I can zoom in or not. Let's see if I can zoom in, make it.
Oh yeah, there. I'm looking at the wrong spot, but yeah, I see it. Yeah, that's kind of low, isn't it, for Super Bowl tickets?
It has gone down over $2,000 in probably the last 7 days. Somebody else just posted on my Facebook page the other day. They were like, hey, the lowest tickets were, $4,900 and now they're $4,300. And I went and looked it up after I saw that. Now they're $3,700. They were literally 44 yesterday. And that's the cheapest seats. Those are bleeders way up here. Somewhere.
So what I know they were really expensive when we went to Tampa. I mean, I heard like 10 grand stuff, something crazy, but
oh yeah. I mean, I can't remember what they were, but I didn't pay as close attention to them then. But yeah, I'm shocked by the most expensive seat I think I saw had gone down from like over 50 grand to somewhere around 25. That's like,
so tell me how that's good for the NFL and why they would intentionally do that to themselves and all the owners, because don't they rev share all that stuff?
Well, I mean, for one part of it, you're like, okay, first of all, ticket revenue is a small,
pretty small
percentage of where they earn their revenue, right? So they don't really, and plus these are the prices on the secondary market, right? It's not, I mean, all of the Super Bowl tickets are sold, right? I mean, that, the NFL has sold their Super Bowl tickets. They make nothing off of these prices now, right? So they sold all their inventory. So it hasn't hurt the NFL at all. I mean, where you're going to see what will really be interesting is to compare viewership numbers this year versus viewership numbers last year. But if secondary market ticket prices are any indicator, well, viewership's going to be down this year, which is really weird when you have a football team that has such positive personalities actually on the cusp of doing something that's never been done before. I mean, I freaking hated the Patriots, and I tuned in their undefeated season and rooted for them.
Me too.
Because I wanted to see history.
Yep. I remember telling my dad, I'm like, I'm never going to see this again, so I hope they win.
Exactly. Yep. And then instead, no, we can't have that for the Chiefs. That's not okay for the Chiefs. It's the weirdest thing I've ever. I mean, I expected, like, I have a guy on Facebook I used to, we never worked together, but we both worked at the same radio station. Like, I quit working at Intercom like 3 months before he got hired, right? But then I still listened to him on the radio all the time, and I started following him on Facebook, and we're Facebook friends, right? We talk to each other or whatnot. And he's a big football fan, but he's a Raiders guy, right? And he immediately got all butthurt after the Bills game, and that guy was, that wasn't a catch, and that definitely was a first down, right? Don't care, might have been, whatever, right? He's always been a person who was, if you're complaining about the loser or about the refs, it's because you're a loser.
Yeah.
Losers complain about, that's always been his mantra. The only thing that matters is winning. And if you're complaining about the refs, that's why you lost, right?
Yeah.
Because you're not that good. And even he's hit his limit. He just went right off the edge. He was like, I'm done with football. That was crap. The officiating's so bad. It's no wonder people think it's rigged, and blah, 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 blah. And then he has to come out and he goes, winning 3 in a row is not a new thing in the NFL. The Packers did it in the 40s, and another team did it in the 30s. And I'm like, okay, I guess.
NFL at that point, I don't think, was it?
No, it was the NFL. There was no AFL.
No,
you're talking about, it was like maybe 8 teams.
Yeah.
You're talking about the Bears, the Packers, and like 4 teams that don't exist anymore. It's like, okay, yeah, sure, they did it before. But to sit there and just you want to throw, he wanted to throw that out there just to throw rain and throw shade on the Chiefs parade. You know, that's really all it was. Like, what you're doing is not really that special.
No.
It's just
He has been peer pressured into the negative negative
like,
hype.
I don't even know that it's peer pressure. I think it is a very similar thing with a lot of stuff in our world today that you've just been browbeaten over it with the
That's what
message long enough.
that's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Not
you just submit.
necessarily, yeah, just a constant subconscious message that whatever, doesn't matter what it is. You get beat
It,
subconsciously with a message enough, and you all of a sudden, for some reason, it comes true, like in your
yeah,
brain. I
yeah.
don't get it.
Eventually, yeah. You know, what was it? Orwell said, like you know, once you're told long enough, you'll agree that 1+1 = 3. You
Yeah,
know, once it's
yeah.
repeated enough times, it's like, okay, well, I guess that maybe I'm just stronger willed than other people. That makes me feel good about myself. I don't know. Might not be true, but I feel better about myself.
I agree. To me, it's just logic. Like, where can we just use logic? I don't know.
I it doesn't make a lot of sense, but like you said, like it doesn't make it other than just keeping eyeballs on the screen and keeping the gamblers happy. Keep those games close. That's the only thing that makes any level of sense. And I even at that, I think that's a stretch.
I heard an interesting, or read an interesting, because of course, we're all reading these Facebook just
Oh yeah.
smash pages, and somebody made an actually pretty good comment the other day, and I don't know if it's true. I never looked it up, but they said there's a reason why bowling is the only professional sport that you can't gamble on. And I think they kind of left it at that. And I thought, well, if there isn't, um, if there isn't gambling on bowling, I guess that makes sense because you can't really rig a bowling game. There's just too much technicalities in it. I mean, you've got the weight of the ball, you've got the weight of the pins, you've got, you can't, and the placement of the pins. So you can't really, you can't fake it.
You could
So
always have you could always pay a player to throw the game.
I,
Just
I,
like you
I
can,
yeah, that's true.
just like
Yeah,
you can do point shaving in
yeah,
basketball.
yeah. You can do that.
I mean, to imply that those guys aren't skilled enough with a bowling ball
Oh,
to
exactly.
miss, I mean, I've
I
watched what those
quarter
guys do.
inch.
Let's do what?
Yeah, by a quarter inch.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
I mean, it doesn't take them having to throw gutter balls, bowl an 8 and miss the split.
yeah,
Don't
yeah.
pick up the spare because it spun too much and the ball broke too hard.
I didn't
Those
think of
sorts of
that.
things would be ways you could. I mean, but you have to do it. I mean, you'd have to get the player to participate in it. I mean, it's not.
Right.
You know, I, I don't know enough about bowling to pass any real
I didn't.
judgment on it. I mean, I would think the same would be true with pool, and billiards.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
the only way to rig that game would be to get the player to throw the game,
To just miss.
just to just miss. I mean, basketball players do it all the time.
I guess it's no different than boxing. I mean, when they
Yeah,
do it,
take a fall.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Now I don't know why they don't bet on bowling. That's a different.
Well, I don't even know if that's
question.
true. I just it maybe
Now I'm
it is. I don't know.
now I almost want to get on my DraftKings. Be like, is there bowling betting?
That's what I'm looking up right now
You're
too.
looking it up right now,
Yeah.
but bets on bowling. That's funny. So, are you going anywhere to watch Super Bowl this weekend? You
No.
staying at home?
Yeah, I stay at home. I like to stay at home so I'm not distracted necessarily. Not that I don't really bet
Right.
on it or necessarily need to be paying attention, but I don't know. It's just a better.
I
I'm kind of over the parties and the stuff.
Yeah, I like family to come over. Maybe a few friends, but not like having like a super huge bash or anything. My daughter's gonna come over. I'm probably gonna be inviting my dad and my brothers to bring the kids or whatever. I got like a 96-inch movie theater screen in my basement, so it's with all the surround sound and all that good shit. So it makes for makes for a really good location to host the game.
Yeah, so you're not gonna miss much with that screen.
No, I don't miss much.
By the way, gambling is not allowed on bowling. You can't gamble on the lanes. You can't gamble on. I mean, there's nothing. Like
Wow.
no gambling. That's interesting.
Wow. That it almost makes me want to call it the gentleman's sport.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting. I know I had never heard that there's no gambling on bowling. And now I want to investigate this.
I don't know. I want to see what else.
Hold on.
What professional sports cannot be gambled on?
Why is gambling not allowed in bowling? Question mark. Let's see here. See what Google has to say from their AI.
Which I guess, well, I guess that's players on baseball, but
Because of the focus on skill, regulation, and integrity, image and family friendly nature. I'm like, come on.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Let's see here. I mean, it does say that some forms of gambling do exist, like bracket wagering and action bowling, which I mean, I could read more of the information on it, but like, so you're like,
I mean,
action bowling is a less formal and often unofficial type of gambling where individuals or groups wager on the outcome of matches between skilled bowlers. It's more prevalent in informal settings and may not always be regulated. So, I mean, yeah, it's like just basic betting. I think this guy's gonna win.
yeah, tennis. They do it in tennis. They're allowed. I mean, it's on DraftKings and
Yeah, it's all right. Well, this is the weirdest thing I've found
that's
out in a while that there's.
yeah, that's interesting. I don't know. I don't know. I kind of forgot about that too until we just randomly ran across that thought track.
Okay. So bracket wagering is sanctioned in the United States.
What what is
bracket wagering mentioned earlier? This is a common and USBC sanctioned form of gambling where bowlers compete against each other in a bracket format with winners progress. So basically, if there's a bracket, a bowling bracket, like a tournament, you can wager on who's going to win the match and advance in the bracket, apparently, which is just regular fucking gambling.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like just straight up
up gambling. Oh wow, that's how we do it. Duh. Interesting. What else is going on in the world today? People are freaking out. I don't know. You probably busy, didn't see me do my live stream at the beginning before this. I had a friend, and we are and I try not to be too political on these shows, right? I don't really want to talk about that stuff. It's like if I want to talk about that stuff, I'd rather have a one-on-one conversation with a person in a non-combative sort of situation.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
I'm not interested in arguing with you about it. It's like this is what I think, and I'm quite certain you probably see things at least a little differently, even if we have plenty of space for agreement, right? And so, anyways, this Facebook person I worked with in radio, and everybody I worked with in radio is like just die hard one side of the spectrum, right?
And the same one and the same side, or
oh yeah, they're all die hard on the same side of the spectrum. I don't know of a single, well, maybe one or two, but for the most part, I don't know of like very many people, particularly involved in the on-air product that is put on air, that aren't on on the bluer side of the spectrum, right? It's fine. Anyway, this friend of mine that I worked with in radio, she had posted out there that, she posted one time that she didn't know how to engage with certain people because she couldn't tell if they were joking or if it was really one of their crazy political opinions. And she was like that those people should have some fucking grace, right? That was the way she phrased it. And then she had another post today about how she just couldn't understand or something, whatever it was. And I simply put out to her, I said, I would love to talk to you about this. And her response to me was, our politics are so different, there's nothing to discuss. And I'm like, I even replied to her, I'm like, well, I kind of think that's exactly why we should talk.
Yeah.
And it's like, we don't have to like do a live stream, don't have to do it in front of a live studio audience. But I mean, have you had this in your like people you've known professionally growing up, people you were friends with, where it's like, it's like, I want to stay friends with you. I don't want there to be like some buried animosity, but like, it seems like you're not going, like, it's just really not possible. Is this just a me thing?
I don't think it is, because I've heard other stories of it too. But me personally, I don't want to sound arrogant about it, but I don't think I have time for that. I just don't like, like I'll do the same kind of thing you did. Like, we'll put it out there, but if you're just so whatever, then yeah, we'll get a little bit back and forth. But if it's not, if it's DOA, then it's DOA. But you're right. That is those stark differences are exactly why, because maybe you actually want to learn why I why an opposition to anything, doesn't matter what it is, thinks the way they do. Like, it's not just because I want to hear you and beat on you. Like, I may really actually want to learn what the hell you're like, why you see it that way. Like, you're a person, you have a brain, you can think. Why do you think that way?
And it's like when you see the people on TV or your favorite podcast or whatever, it's like, okay, yeah, those guys they're there to light fires and piss people off. That's like their job.
Yeah.
Right. And I get, the keyboard warrior idea that, like, man, when I'm away, I will be much more aggressive and, aggressive and angry with my words or whatever, because I'm not in front of the person that I like. You know what I mean? But it's like, there are people I've gone to school with, I went to college with, I worked with. And even then I knew we had differing views on things in the world. Right. But we were still able to be friends back then.
All right.
You know what I mean? And I'm trying to see, and it's like, and even though we had differing views, they weren't so different. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, I see these people, they make these comments, and they're these really broad brush comments. And I'm like, well, I kind of feel that way. Why would you think that about me? Why would you think such a harsh thing about me? Because I feel that way to a certain extent. You know what I mean? Whatever the issue is, doesn't matter.
Right.
Whatever the issue is, you think this, you're a horrible, and I do it too. I'm not immune to this. I'm trying to actually figure out, like, what the hell happened in the last 15, 20 years that got us from being able to be like, just go about our daily, lives and having some differing opinions, to the fact where it's like just driving a wedge right through like the middle of society. And it's just like the weirdest thing. It's like, you think, people will put out there like, you're a hateful person if you did X, Y, or Z. And it's like, well, I've done X, Y, or Z, and I know you don't think I'm a hateful person.
Mm-hmm.
Where is this coming from? I mean, and I get, like, some people are like, dude, I don't dick around with it, so I don't know. I find interpersonal relationships to be very important. It's kind of what I want to do with my brand and my idea here with traveling and all the other stuff I want to do. It's like I want to try to like bring people together, in a positive way. And so these sorts of things, as I'm trying to set things up and move forward and come up with ideas to do this, it's like finding ways to overcome those obstacles is something I need, that would need to be figured out.
I don't know, other than do you come back in a combative manner and that sparks a reaction? I
Well,
don't
I
know.
mean, in certain circumstances, sure.
I
I'm
mean,
I'm
maybe in
not
that,
above it. I'm not above
yeah,
it,
you're like,
right?
well, you know what? You're just not worth talking to. And then that subconsciously gets them to re-engage, and then you can
But
back in
these are
that
well, but these
conversation.
are people that I don't get combative with, specifically because, like, okay, I know you personally. We
Yeah,
worked
yeah,
together. We had a
yeah,
personal relationship of some sort. I don't want to piss you off, right? There are others who I don't really know that well, and they say all kinds of crazy stuff. And if they say crazy stuff to me, then I'll say crazy stuff back to them. I don't care, right? But there are certain ones where it's like, no, no, no. We worked together. We spent a lot of time together during a segment of my life.
yeah. You
What
don't kill
makes you
cats. I don't kill cats. Why are we that different? Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. And so why would you imply that somebody who just with such a broad stroke that anyway, it really is. It's something that's bugged me for the last few years. It really is part of the impetus behind me wanting to do this travel company, set up group trips, set up group things for people to, come together and do in the community and get to know people face to face as opposed to being always, like the 80% of your interactions being on social media.
Yeah, it's part of, I don't know what internally it is or what has to happen. I have listened to some. I'm not a liberal. I will say that, out loud.
Sure.
And I don't really want to say I'm a Republican either, because I
Yeah.
just but I do lean more conservative. Um, and I've
I like
listened
the
to,
word traditional.
or is that okay? I like that too. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Anyway,
that's
sorry.
actually more in the middle of everything than anything that you hear today, because that's the idea, is to get everything so polarizing.
Hmm.
But I have listened to some of those the liberal stuff on like XM radio,
Hmm.
and man, it's like it's to me it's just as bad. Actually, it might be a little worse, but because I can't stand listen to conservative radio. Like, it just sound it gets whiny. It's just cry, whiny stuff. I'm like, I mean, I get how people get sucked into that, but I'm like, if I really break this down, like, you're just bitching about the same stuff over and over about the opposite. And then you look at it, the
Yeah.
opposite side is bitching about the same stuff that you're bitching about, just the opposite view. And I can see both sides of it. So it's I don't want to call it maturity, but it's something along those lines of acceptance of, well, I really don't give a shit. That's your opinion. That's your opinion. I have my opinion, and mine happens to lie here, and that's cool. I don't happen to agree with this or that, but
Right.
I don't have to be right either. So I don't know. I
Fair.
don't know. I don't know what that is.
I think I th- I think because there's stuff coming out that's showing that this is also likely the case. I think at some point in time, institutions in our country decided, like literally decided, we're going to crank this bitch up to 11 and we are going to drive the wedge. Because I don't know what the motivation behind that would have been, right? I don't know. I mean, there's lots of things, right? But it seems to me that the the focus of generating opinion, like the efforts that our country might have usually used on other countries around the world, like they turned that focus on the United States to drive through all the tools and machinations, just, straight propaganda, media manipulation, that sort of thing. I think that something along with, I don't think I'm not smart enough to figure it out. I don't expect the people who I run into this issue with. I don't expect that, I don't find them to be unintelligent people, but I also don't necessarily, I'm not surprised that they would have, that they could succumb to this. I'm sure I succumbed to it to some extent, I mean,
Well, I
it's
guarantee we've all shifted from what used to be. I mean,
right.
where
Yeah.
you were hardcore, whatever, you're probably not as hardcore now as you were 20 years ago.
Oh God. No. But that just comes with age and not giving a shit anymore. I mean,
Yeah.
some of that extent, but I think it's a mistake to think that there's not been something that is substantially different than the way things were done 2006,
So
1994. You know what I mean?
yeah.
They're not doing shit the same way they used to. You just, I don't
So
know. I don't know what it is.
that brings me to two questions or 2 points, I guess. The one is I'm always wondering, like, okay, who is they? Because nobody can ever really pinpoint they. So I assume it just to be the machine.
Powers that be.
Just
I mean,
yeah.
I
Who the
believe
hell?
there are powers that be, right?
Who
I
the hell
believe
is
that.
that?
Well, I can point to, I can,
Congress? I mean, I don't.
no. No, I
I mean,
can point to powers that be. Look, on the federal level, you're talking about, the 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 people who have the most swear, the people who have the most money,
yeah,
right? I don't have to go down a rabbit hole of Bilderberg and the Trilateral Commission and all of these groups that meet to form policy position. I don't have to go down that rabbit hole. It's no different than my local government, right? My local government, my city government, we have a chamber of commerce for the city. Those are all of the movers and shakers in your town, right? They're the business owners in your town. They're the higher level executives for the bigger companies in your town. Those are the people that are at your chamber of commerce. Your chamber of commerce will have a committee within their chamber of commerce that focuses on government issues, on what laws they want to support and move forward. I know because I was part of one of these committees,
right.
right? And then we go lobby our state senators, our city councilmen, blah 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 blah, right? So the idea that this type of shit doesn't happen at the higher levels is just stupid.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
we have networking groups that are just amongst businesses, and our networking groups come up with ideas of how we would like to advance things to move forward in our communities. Well, the idea that Amazon and Google and and X and Facebook don't have, groups that get together to talk about how they want to see things advance in this country and in this world is just ridiculous. It's dumb to think it doesn't happen, right? And when I say they, those are the people I'm talking about. I say they because I don't necessarily have to pin it on George Soros or Elon Musk or anybody else.
Yeah.
It's just that there is a level of influence by more powerful people than I that seem to be directing things in a certain direction, because they certainly seem to be going in a certain direction or have been.
So
I think they're changing now.
As that goes, it ties directly, and you alluded to it a little bit, I think, as far as like education system and whether that goes on all the way on up into universities and whatever else. So the education, and you probably know this way better than I do. I'm just going off of like memory, but so we started like the formal like get in school process in World War I or something, or I don't remember when. Maybe it was
right at the turn of the century was when
so
industrialized education came in.
Yes, we had, and then school was built so people would fall in line because they needed to get in order to go do the manufacturing and all that kind of stuff. And our population at that point was like 100 million.
Right.
And at some point, the powers that be, like I say, evolved to go, well, we're going to keep growing way, way, way beyond that. And we can see now that at our population level, if we got out of control, how chaotic everything would be. We've got to start this whatever where we're at, building to where we're at now. I guess I don't know. This is all theory, but and because now we're 3 times the size that we were then, and we had to gain more control over the people. Because if not, I mean, could you imagine if we think we can do whatever we want, but can we? Try not paying your tax bill.
Well, that's your tax bill, though. But I mean, there are
And
things we don't necessarily have to have. I mean, we could do education without the federal government being involved in education. I mean,
right.
we saw that for 100 years.
And it may be it would be better, I would argue.
Right. I would surmise that it would be better. But I mean, yeah, they definitely create. I mean, that's that. I mean, I homeschool my kids for a myriad of reasons, right? One of them is that one of the original ideas that I had, as to why I would want to homeschool my kids, because the original school system, as you were talking about, was set up to be for the industrial world. That's why there are bells that tell us, okay, time to get up, next class, bell, time for lunch, bell, time for recess, bell, time to go home, because that's how the factories worked.
That's how they needed them to.
Yeah. And they needed to educate and train these kids to be ready to go to work in the factories. Dude, by the time my kids came along, ain't nobody going to work in a damn factory.
Right.
None of that setup applies to the world we're moving into. Right. And then when you top that off, that they stop teaching, history, history one pisses me off more than anything. It's like, because if you don't know your history, then you don't know why we do the things we do now.
Right.
You don't know why we have the rules we have if you don't understand why they were set up in the first place, right? I mean, it's like Second Amendment stuff. You think we shouldn't have guns because you don't understand why the people who set up this country said we needed to have guns. Like, you don't understand the basic logic of what they were dealing with and why they thought what they thought. You just because you were never taught the history.
No.
And as that stuff moved along, they started teaching less and less stuff. The colleges started putting out people who had less and less marketable skills. And it's just become a snowballing effect, man. It's really a crazy thing. It's really a crazy thing. But I definitely think, no different than the education, the media groups and everybody else, those upper level people. I don't like calling them upper level because it makes, it's like they're special or something. They're just normal people who got, had an opportunity to be in a position. It's really what it boils down to.
Yeah.
But they're all of like mind, and they've definitely, I mean, it's hard to say I agree with you. I hate saying they all the time, but these people have decided that they wanted things to move in a certain direction. Kind of like you were saying about the education. It's like people like Henry Ford set up the current public education system so that it operated the way, for their benefit. And to think that people aren't doing that today.
Well, I mean, true. Yeah.
Yeah. And that goes for Elon Musk too. I mean, he's got his thing. He's got his ideas, and there's, I don't think up until this past year, Elon Musk had really flexed his muscle on trying to change things in the way he wanted them changed. But I think he kind of reached his boiling point and jumped all in. And so now he's no different than the rest.
I agree. I hold reservation. My first thing is I'm like, oh, that'll be good. And then I'm like, well, wait a minute. It's, central power kind of stuff again. I don't know, I mean, maybe he's just the tip of the spear and there's a whole whatever. I don't know, but it makes me look at it again and think, or just question it, I guess.
I haven't had many complaints about the things that have gone on up to this point. And,
right.
For the most part, I don't care. It's like, for me, I'm like, I just don't want like a lot of like the stuff to carry on with Mexico for too long, because I'm going to Mexico in June on a cruise, and I would like to, encourage some other people to go to Mexico this summer. It's like, I would like to help them out with
that. Industry will hold up or should, but I guess nothing's guaranteed, but I would think that it should hold.
Well, it technically it comes out as the largest industry in the world. I mean, everybody has to travel, and there's but when they compile those numbers to call it the largest industry of the world, they're cobbling together every stitch of travel.
Yeah.
So like your road trips, going to the lake, all of it. They're scratching up all of it to make that count.
I mean, technically that it is.
It is.
Just because you're not going 2,000 miles and you're going 200. I mean, it's really it is.
Even if it's just because you're going to see your mom.
Yeah.
Still travel. Did you pack a bag? Did you spend the night at mom's house? Yeah, that's still travel, So, but yeah, it's interesting. Well,
and then
go ahead.
Well, I guess, you about a time, but on that deal, I just learned that most of Europe thinks we're crazy because we fly everywhere. I guess because they got plane or trains that
rails
on there or whatever for hour trips versus, our hour trips are getting on a plane flying 2,000 miles, and theirs are getting on a train for whatever long it is. And
they have a much superior rail system to ours, right? They have specific rails for passengers only. That's why they have high-speed rail, right? The reason we don't have high-speed rail is because we put our passenger trains on freight rail, and freight rail doesn't travel as fast as high-speed rail, right? So that's why Amtrak's fucking slow, right? Although I am thinking about taking Amtrak to our cruise, either to our cruise or home from our cruise, because it's on the Southwest Chief, and it goes through a lot of the cool natural areas of the Southwest of the United States, from Kansas City to Los Angeles. And it's like half the price of a flight's 8 hours, and the train's like 35. But the way I look at it is a travel day is a travel day, right? I don't give a shit if I'm on the plane for only 6 hours, and then I'm, in the airport for an hour, on the back end, and I'm in the airport for 2 hours on the front end. Shit, I'm already up to over 12 hours.
Yeah, it does come down to it. We've realized that too. It's like, it doesn't matter. I mean, if you're going to drive to Chicago or fly to Chicago, it's
your whole day's burnt.
Yeah, it's the whole same amount of time. And then that brings me up to that. I don't remember when you were saying at some point about Amtrak vacations. I had no idea that was a thing.
Oh yeah.
I saw that you doing a little deal on that. I looked that up, and that was actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean, 7 to 15-day trips and all that stuff. I knew Amtrak, but I didn't know they were purposely, there was purpose-built vacations built into that whole system.
I didn't either until I got into the industry. Matter of fact, for my host agency, because they provide me with leads, they are begging us to become Amtrak specialists because they have so many Amtrak leads. Where
the hell are the leads coming? How are they learning about them?
We get them direct from Amtrak.
So people are calling Amtrak.
They send them to us. we do all the customer work, and then we call back to Amtrak, and then the Amtrak people do the actual quotes for us.
I mean, who like are they doing marketing themselves or something? Like I've never seen I haven't seen an Amtrak commercial or advertisement in probably 25 years. So I
And when I saw an Amtrak commercial, it was always like, take the train from Kansas City to St. Louis for your
yes, yeah,
business trip. It was
yeah,
not like, take your family on this awesome vacation to see all of the
yeah.
national parks in the Pacific Northwest. You know,
Yeah,
it was
all
nothing like that.
inclusive and stop by X, Y, and Z and all this stuff.
Yeah,
Like the trips that you want to make, but you don't want to drive, like all
yeah,
of those trips. Yeah,
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 yeah, exactly. And they're high ticket trips too, man. Like
yeah.
they aren't cheap. We're
I was
talking
amazed.
$1,500 per person type trips and up. If you go get a sleeper cabin, those things are freaking expensive, man. You're talking big ticket freaking travel on Amtrak, which blew me away.
Yeah,
Blew me away. I was like, really? Amtrak?
yeah. No
That's where
kidding.
we're going for expensive travel? Okay. Had no idea. Had no
Taking a
idea.
page out of Europe's book, I guess, or something. I don't know.
Dude, there is a lot to freaking see in this country. There really is. I mean, I think as Americans, we sell our own country vastly short in what there is to see and experience and enjoy in this country. I mean, whether it's mountains, beaches, you know, grasslands, nature,
Yeah,
this country has so much to offer.
yeah. You've got, I mean, different, all kinds of different forests. You get redwood forest. You get the Oregon forest, which if
Yep.
nobody's ever seen that, that's incredible. Maine. I
Yeah.
just heard about Maine a few years ago. I'm like, who the hell, whatever, man. And people are like, oh no, it's actually a really good spot to go.
Here,
Okay, I had no idea, but
here's one you hadn't thought of. Go to New York City, hop on a cruise ship with Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, MSC, any of the big cruise lines, and go north. Because they do. I bet you didn't know that, but they actually have cruises that go north out of New York City. You hit Boston, you hit Maine, you go up to Newfoundland, right? And then you come back down, just like a Caribbean cruise, only you go up the North Coast. They also have them that go up the Pacific Coast. So you can like start in San Diego or Los Angeles and hit American spots, American ports all the way up the coast. And it's one of those things like, I never thought of that until I got into the business. And hell, even once I was in the business, I didn't think of it. I was like, I stumbled across it one day. I'm like, well, duh, it makes sense. I never would have thought of it, but it makes sense that we would have these things, you know, to check out American places, dude. And yeah, it's pretty cool to know that there's those sorts of options are available, man. So we're gonna reconvene, not online, like right after this, or you want to do it right after this, or you want to need 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and a half an
yeah,
hour?
give me 15 minutes or so. I need to get some lunch. I've been full up busy running since 7.
Hey,
So
no worries. No worries. I can go upstairs and grab myself a bite to eat too.
yeah.
You want to call me or you want to just text me on Facebook and then we'll
Yeah, I'll
connect?
text you. Yeah, I'll text
Text me
you.
when you're done. And I'm pretty open all
Okay.
afternoon. So you text
Okay.
me when you're ready and we can do a phone call and we'll go from there. So, all
Sounds
right,
good.
guys, it's the, for all those watching or not watching, whoever's there, this is our business roundtable. Me and Zach today, continuing to hand out invitations for people to join us. I did have a number of people who just on short notice couldn't make it today, but they were definitely wanted to stay on the list. So we'll have more people joining us in the weeks to come. So with that being said, Zach, you want to like sign off, tell us about who you are, where you're from, and then I will do the same and we'll
Yep.
call it a day.
Zach Pullen, Conflow Strategic. I help small businesses, which is anybody below 40 million annual revenue. I mean, I happen to be in that category, and probably most anybody that with the exception of a few small businesses who may be stuck or they're struggling or they want to just grow some more. Help them figure out why that's happening. Get them a developed, proven process and a plan, a way out of that. More leads and in front of better clients and make more money. That's the goal.
That is the goal. That is definitely the goal. I'm Eric Tiemann, Living Life and Style Travel. I'm a travel agent. And I do I'm moving my focus towards setting up a group. Me and Zach will be talking about this in a little bit, but into a group approach, but I also do individual travel, all of your leisure travel needs. I focus on the Caribbean and Mexico and the United States, and cruising as well. So I am a specialist in Royal Caribbean, Celebrity, and Virgin Voyages, and would love to help you with any future travel plans. Zach, I appreciate it. I will be talking to you shortly, and I will plan on seeing you next week at Business Roundtable.
Sounds good. See you.
All right, man. Take it easy.